going to be seeing what it is the Spirit is saying to the church. Now, the church doesn't look very big at this point. In the story of Job, the church is one. Now, that's not entirely true because there is both the church in heaven. It's called the church of the firstborn. We can read that in Hebrews chapter 12. If you haven't known that, you might want to check and read that through. We are not come to the mountain that burns with fire like at Mount Sinai in this earth, but we've come to the very city of God and to the innumerable company of angels, the church of the firstborn, both in heaven and in earth. So Job seems to be alone here. He's the church of one on the earth, but he is not in the minority. Job is really blessed with God on his side and the Son of God on his side, the angels of God on his side, and the Spirit of God that is ministered through his Son and the angels on his side. And so we have Job here being really attacked mentally, emotionally, and socially from his friends. He's going through this in a very good way. Job is still keeping his eye focused on God. He's wondering why his friends seem so crazy, and I'm sure we've all been there before. But we're going to see how that Zophar gives an answer again to what we read about last time in Job, in the book of Job. We're going to try to get through 2 chapters again because it's kind of the same thing. We have Job's friends saying, nope, it is the sinners. It's those that are wrong that God treats this way. And Job's like, no, God is not like that. He is, where is my sin? Who have I sinned? My sin is with me. My sin is not against you. It's not against God. I haven't done anything else. And so that's really what's happening again. But now Zophar is going to tear into Job here the same way that the previous guy has done. Bildad, I think, is who we read yesterday. And so we're going to look now, trying to figure out what it is that's being said here in Job chapter 20. And so it reads, Then answered Zophar the Naamathite and said, Therefore do my thoughts cause me to answer, and for this I make haste. It's like, my thinking is coming so rapidly that I am going to speak right now. You're causing me to answer. I have heard the check of my reproach. You have spoken. I've heard the check of my reproach, and the spirit of my understanding causes me to answer. So here I am. And by the way, this is Ruach. I thought that was interesting. You can see there it's Ruach, but what it's saying is the spirit, the mind, the ideas that I have of my understanding cause me to answer. Now, how would I say that? Why would I say the mind of what's in my mind? Well, I'm going to give you part of my mind. And so here, this word spirit, if you come and see how it's translated, let's think. The air of my understanding? No, that doesn't really work. The anger of my understanding? Maybe. The blast or breath of my understanding? Not really. The cool of the day of my understanding? No. The courage? Maybe. The mind of my understanding? There you go. That could work. The quarter of my understanding? No, not really. The side? No, that doesn't work. The spirit of my understanding? Sure, that works because it's like the mind. The tempest? No, not really. The vanity or vain? No. The whirlwind of my understanding? Okay, maybe. Like my mind is spinning right now. That's the idea of a whirlwind in your mind, right? So really, to use this word ruach as mind in this context really makes a lot of sense. And so that's where we did that before. We talked about the spirit. We've been to this verse before, but it just, again, makes a lot of sense. So the spirit of my understanding causes me to answer. Don't you know this from old? Know you not this of old, since man was placed on the earth? We're going all the way back to Adam now and Eve. That the triumphing of the wicked is short. Now the wicked do triumph. You can see it right there. That's clear. But it's short. And the joy of the hypocrite is but for a moment. So yeah, hypocrites have joy, but not for very long. So you were triumphing, dear brother Job. You had plenty of joy, but look at it now. Look at you now. It's a mess. You're a wreck. Look at yourself. That's really what this guy is saying, and it's Zophar, right? So in verse 6, though his excellency mount up to the heavens, and his head reach unto the clouds, so you might be thinking you're big, you might be thinking you're tall and great, able to reach up into the heavens, you might have a big head, right? Yet he shall perish forever like his own dung. Okay, man, that's getting, okay, you're getting a little graphic here, Zophar. Back up a little bit and just try to be nice to Job, but he can't, right? He's just spilling what's in his mind, and he's getting pretty graphic. Like, you're just a pile of dung, Job, and you're just going to rot like that. Look at yourself. They which have seen him shall say, where is he? He's just going to be nothing. Verse 8, he shall fly away as a dream and shall not be found. And you've all been there before, right? You've had a dream where you wake up and you're like, wow, that was amazing. You get to breakfast and you're going to tell your family and you're like, I had this dream, but now I can't remember it. And there's nothing you can do to bring it back. It just won't come. It's gone. Same idea here, right? So, yea, he shall be chased away as a vision of the night. So, Job, you're just going to disappear. That you're not going to be remembered. Nothing is going to be left of you. You don't have family. You don't have business. You don't have home. Well, look at your wife. The eye also which saw him shall see him no more, neither shall his place any more behold him. And just like the pile of dung that he said he would be, he's just going to disappear. So new paragraph here, right? And here's where he gets in again, talking about the children that are dead. You don't do that to somebody who's lost their children. His children shall seek to please the poor. Oh, sorry, Job, where are your children? Nope, your children aren't here anymore. His hands shall restore their goods. And his bones are full of the sin of his youth. He shall lie down with him in the dust. So the bones are going to lie down with him with the sins of his youth, right? And so everything is bad for you, Job. It's because this is what comes as a result of you choosing the way you did. You've forsaken prayer. You've turned away from the Almighty God, as they discussed earlier. Job verse 12. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hide it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his food, which is the sweetness in his mouth, which is his wickedness, yea, his food in his bowels is turned. It is the gall of asps within him. So this is the idea. This is interesting because it's sweet in his mouth, but it's bitter in his belly. Okay, now you've seen that before. You've seen that in Revelation chapter 10. You've also seen it in Ezekiel chapter 2 and 3. Like, take these words and eat them. They will be sweet in your mouth, but when they get into your belly, they'll become bitter. That's what happened with Ezekiel. Well, John picked that up and wrote it down in Revelation chapter 10 with the same idea. The angel came and said, take this, roll the scroll, and eat it, and it will be sweet in your mouth and bitter in your belly. So the same thing here. Job is being spoken to by Zophar, and it's basically the same idea. You're going to take your wickedness, it's going to be sweet in your mouth, but later in your belly it's going to turn like the gall of asps, and it's going to make you sick. So I wonder if both Ezekiel and Revelation got their ideas from a former prophet, which would be Job, from where this idea came from. Well, actually, no, because that was the angel that said it to Ezekiel, and the angel said it to Job as well. To John as well. So, I guess I'm going off the wrong track on that one. But anyways, it's interesting how there's a theme about that in at least 3 locations in the Bible. Going back now to verse 15. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. God shall cast them out of his belly. And so even your riches, your food, your wickedness, everything is going to be gone. Your children, where are they? He shall suck the poison of asps, the viper's tongue shall slay him. So now, why asps and vipers? Well, remember, he had a business that was camels. And camels, they walk around and make noise on the ground, right? He also had oxen, and oxen step on the ground and make noise on the ground. He had sheep, and they run around and make noise on the ground. He also had donkeys. And those donkeys, they have hooves as well that make noise on the ground. Asps and vipers don't like that kind of noise. They will stay away if a horse or a mule or a donkey or a camel or something is in the area whereby they think that if they stick their head up or squirm around, they're going to get squashed. So it's part of their instinct to get away from that area. Well, those businesses are gone now, Job. You don't have those businesses anymore. So what do you have now around the property? You have things that will squirm on the ground like vipers and asps, And it's because you don't have what you used to, Job. Look at yourself. You are wicked. Everything is gone. And so even the hint here of these asps and vipers and how Job would be bitten by them, he'll suck the poison and the tongue of the viper will slay him. These are hints back to his former experience where he didn't have that situation, but now he does. And so it just seems like what is being said here by these quote-unquote friends of Job, we've called them the wise men, more like wise guys, they are just attacking in such a way where this is not normal. You wouldn't try to comfort or console somebody who's gone through a situation where he's lost everything with these kind of words. And so it's really like, first they've feigned to be the friends of Job, but now they are openly the tools of the enemy. I mean, it just doesn't seem like there's any way around it. These guys are attacking Job in a way that any Christian would not do in their right mind, right? So this is pretty bad. Anyways, it says, he shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey, and butter. Now, why not? Well, because you're not going to get butter from the various sheep, camel, oxen, and donkeys. And remember, if I recall correctly, those are the kind of animals that you get butter from. You can milk all of them. And if I think I remember correctly, donkey butter, if maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it's donkey butter is some of the most expensive. So he doesn't have those anymore because those animals are gone. Your businesses are gone. And that which he labored for, your businesses, he shall restore and shall not swallow it down. Wait a minute, what's happening here? That which he labored for, shall he restore? This doesn't sound normal. For some reason, I'm not remembering this part, having read it before. And shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. I guess that's what I was thinking about this verse. He's not going to rejoice. Okay, so if he does bring it back, if he does restore it, he won't rejoice in it, right? So maybe that's it. If he does try to build back what has been broken down, it's not going to work. Maybe that's the idea here. Any comments or whatever, just go ahead and send them in. So that which he labored for, he shall restore. It's not going to work. He won't rejoice therein, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor. Job, look at yourself. You were very wealthy, but now look at you. You're the poor, and it's because you have oppressed the poor. You have forsaken the poor, because he has violently taken away a house which he did not build. Now, you can't say that Job did that according to the story here, but maybe he's implying that this wasn't your house, Job, and now look at yourself. You're a wreck. Anyways, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. You're not going to have enough to store, and you're going to feel like your belly is constantly bad. It's interesting. We had somebody recently in our fellowship that she had just been called by somebody on the phone. And after that phone call, she said, my stomach just feels sick. And the reason why is because of what she heard on the phone. Well, my wife later got a phone call, a similar phone call, and at the time my wife didn't want to take it. And she was saying the same thing my wife was saying. I get it, what our friend said, my stomach feels sick. And so that's what Job would be going through, like all the stuff that he tried to build up, it's gone. And now Job is physically feeling sick. And Zophar here is pointing that out, like you must be feeling terrible right now. Your belly is not, doesn't have quietness. You must be sick at your stomach for what you've all gone through. What? Why? Because you're wicked. You're a sinner. You've turned away from God. And Job is just sitting here going, no, I haven't done that. He's trying to work through his mind. He's trying to go through this experience of, just like it will be during the time where we must stand in the presence of a holy God without a mediator, as it says in the Great Controversy, we're going to be like, what was it that I've done? Is there anything that I've done contrary to God? My stomach is not feeling well. Everything around me is gone. My businesses are gone. My family is gone. I don't have friends, and these three wicked spirits are trying to influence me. One from the dragon, one from the beast, and one from the false prophet. What is it that I've done? Where is my experience gone away from God so I can restore it. We're going to be doing the same thing that Job is doing. This right here is preparatory to that experience where we are going to be the focal point of the entire universe. And to me, it's inspiring. It's like, I mean, I know Job is able to go through it. We can know that he went through it. And though he didn't get exactly what he had before, he was given much more. And that's going to be the experience of us as well. We're not going to maybe have everything we had down here on the earth, but we're going to be given much more in heaven when the life is restored to us, when everything's brought back, when we have a full understanding of what God had been doing with us, and it's now over. That's going to be a beautiful picture and something that I want to truly experience. And so that's what I'm seeing here is Job is going through that time of trouble. And just as it is described in the Great Controversy, where we're going to be looking inwardly, trying to find what was it, what is it, what can it be that I've done contrary to God. And just like Job, we won't be able to find anything. We're going to have to know our spirit is clean. And we're going to have to trust the fact that we are walking in accordance with God's will, whether we feel like it or not. Our faith is going to be not by sight at that point. And so here again, Job is dealing with this, right? In verse 21, there shall none of his meat be left, therefore no man will look for his goods. Everybody's going to forsake him. They don't get any food from him. He's a wicked man. He's stolen his house. He's not doing well. He looks awful. Nobody's going to care for this guy. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. So the fullness of his sufficiency. So everything that he needs to be sufficient will be not enough to cause him to be good. He'll still be in a strait or tight place. That's what this means. He'll be distressed, right? And so every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. He's not going to be doing good, even in his goodness, his better situation. New paragraph. When he is about to fill his belly, God shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So that's just what happened to you, Job. You were eating together, your kids were eating together. Remember, all of them were eating in their different houses during their different days, and the wrath of God came upon them while they were eating. Why? Because you were wicked, your kids are wicked, everybody's wicked. And so Zophar here is just really pinning Job down in a way that Job is not feeling well. His stomach probably was sick. He didn't feel good. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike through him, or him through. It is drawn or taken away from his body. It comes out of the body. Yea, the glittering sword comes out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. It's like he's been stabbed, but he's not dead yet. When you stab somebody with a sword or a knife, or you pierce them through with a bow or an arrow, I'm sorry, not a bow, but an arrow, they're not necessarily going to die right away. They will have terrors, right? They will have terrors that they're going to die, but they're not dead yet. So that's the situation that Zophar is painting up for Job. You're like this right now. You're dying. Your terrors are upon you. It's because you're wicked. It's because you've stolen. It's because you turned your face away from God. All this stuff. And it's just piling up on Job. You can imagine Job's not feeling very well. There's a comment here I'm going to take. It says, God is not vindictive. He seeks not to punish, but to redeem. Even the severity which he manifests through his providences is manifested for the salvation of the wayward. He yearns with intense desire to relieve the woes of men and to apply his balsam to their wounds. It is true that God will by no means clear the guilty, Exodus 34:7, but he would take away the guilt. I like that. That's good. Mount of Blessings 22. And I think that's important to try to understand is that God is not the one that's saying all these things through Zophar. God is enabling this opportunity. He's allowing this opportunity so that we, remember Job had just said, like, may my words be written in a book, so that we could read these words and be able to understand how Job was able to endure and express himself and have the endurance of the saints, as we read about in Revelation chapter 14, verse 12. Here's the patience of the saints. And God is not saying these things. It's the enemy. The enemy is giving these words, feeding these words to Zophar and the other two friends because these other two friends don't have a correct understanding of God. They don't know who he is. And as a result, they're spouting off these things that they think are true, and it's really close to truth. Very close. God does these things to the wicked, right? That's how the wicked feel. But the problem is, Job's not wicked. And so without that third little piece, that aspect, which is the accuser of the brethren, this story doesn't make a lot of sense. But if you would take that accuser of the brethren and put it into the mix and understand that, yes, God does those things to the wicked, but Job isn't wicked, therefore the accuser of the brethren is lying about Job, then all of a sudden, oh, it makes perfect sense. Now you've got this ability to look in different ways. I was told GPS actually needs 3 points of contact. You can have one point which doesn't allow you to see how far it is, how distant it is necessarily, or where it is in conjunction to somebody or something on the left or right, the Y or X or Z axes, if you know anything about 3D modeling. And so you have two, if you have two contacts, then you can see how far of a distance it is in this way, but you don't know yet how far it is that way. So when you have 3 points of contact, then all of a sudden what you get is the ability to see how far, how distant on the X and also on the Y, and on the Z as well. That's what I meant for far. But you have that ability to really focal point or focus on the point to the exact location. That's what I was told happens with GPS. And in this situation, it's very similar. From Job's perspective, you can't fully understand. From the enemy's perspective, you can't fully understand, like the 3 friends. But if you have God in there and you see those 3 points of contact, you realize, oh, now I get it. Now I understand what's happening. And so Job and the friends, they're seeing Job and they're seeing God. Anyways, in verse 25, it is drawn, it is coming out of the body. The glittering, that would be the bow or the iron weapon. The glittering sword comes out of his gall. Terror is upon him. And that's what's happening with Job, is they're suggesting, I think Zophar is suggesting that you've been stabbed, you're dying, and now terrors are upon you, or you're about to die, but you're not dead yet. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. So all darkness is hidden. Makes sense, because darkness is normally hidden anyways, right? We have a comment here, yea, he has been stabbed by his friends. Right, that's true. A fire not blown, so a natural fire, shall consume him. Not one that somebody's trying to put on, like, you know how it is. If you're in front of a fire, if you have ever heated your home through wood fire, you start it with a match and perhaps, or lighter of fire of some sort, and maybe some paper. It's easily combustible. So it burns quickly and easily, but then you add a little more to it, and once it starts getting onto the wood and starts burning the wood, then you're going to start blowing on it, right? You blow on it so that the air will be able to cause it to burn hotter, etc. And if you have that, you're actually trying to get a fire to burn hotter. But it seems here, this is a fire not blown. This is just a natural fire that breaks out somehow. I'm not sure how that would be, but it will consume him, that natural fire. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. So anybody left in the tabernacle, the place where you live or the place where you worship, it will go ill with him. So Job, where are the people that have been in your tabernacle, right? That's kind of the idea that I'm getting from that. They're all dead, unfortunately, except for your wife who has turned against you. And so these are not good words. The heaven shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. And look at, where's heaven now for you, Job? Where's the earth for you now, Job? The increase of his house shall depart. Where's the increase of your house, Job? And his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath. So where are your goods? I mean, just everything that is wrong is being pointed out, and this is not good for Job. So this is the last portion that helps us to know what Zophar was talking about. This is the portion of a wicked man from God, and the heritage appointed unto him by God. And so Zophar cleans up his thoughts with that final focal point, showing us that everything I've been talking about is exactly what happens when God judges the wicked. So now look at yourself, Job. And Job's going, no, I'm not a wicked man. All these things have happened, but I don't understand. I don't know what's happening, but There is nothing in me that has turned from God. I am a dedicated son of God. So Job's going through this. It's like the time of trouble. Jesus went through it in the Garden of Gethsemane. There was Jacob that went through it when he was wrestling with the angel. Daniel probably went through it when he was in the den of lions. The three Hebrews probably were in it when they went into the fiery furnace, at least for a time, because we know the Lord showed up there with them. And there are others that went through this experience. Job is going through it here, and that's our focal point now. But this is going to be your experience, if in fact you're alive during that time of no mediator between God and men. Now that doesn't mean that we have to somehow mediate for ourselves. No, absolutely not. We're told that the angelic ministry will be there to keep us from falling. And what do you mean? Well, Psalm 91, read verse 11. It says that God will send his angels to keep you in all your ways, lest you dash your foot against a stone. They will bear you up in their hands, right? And so if you're walking and you dash your foot against a stone, you fall, right? Well, the angels are going to pick you up so that you don't dash your foot against a stone. God is able to keep you from falling. How does he do that? He commissions his angels to have charge over you. And that's what God is doing to minister on your behalf. And so those angels are going to be very near to you. Now, you won't have a mediator in the heavenly sanctuary because there will be no more forgiveness of sin. It's because you will be sealed. You will have the ability to sin, but you will never sin again. You've turned away from sin. You don't want to. You're sealed. Your decision has been made and it's been stamped by God. This is my child. And those that have turned from God, they have seen so much light and they've turned from it so much, they will never accept the light. So those that have the mark of the beast will be sealed with the mark of the beast. Those that are willing to be followers of God, they will be sealed with the mark of God. You will have the mark or the seal, depending on which side you choose. The mark of God, the seal of God, the mark of the beast, the seal of the beast, whichever. They're both the same words. And you won't turn. It's at that point that God will send his son from the sanctuary to come and get you, to take you, the final harvest, back to himself. And that's what's being dealt with here, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough. If we could remember the book of Job during that time, I think we'd be able to just, connect with Job and understand that is what I'm going through right now. And what Job got at the end will be what I'm going to get at the end as well. I know it's going to be difficult. I don't know that we're going to be able to pull that to our minds at that point, because Christ, for example, at the Garden of Gethsemane, he wasn't able to see past the portals of the tomb. He couldn't know. He couldn't understand. And so that will be our portion as well. I don't know what it's going to look like, but in preparation, this is certainly good. Going on to the next chapter, this is the new paragraph. Job is now answering. He says, "Hear diligently, listen carefully to my speech, and let this be your consolation." So remember, Job was saying, I'm trying to comfort you. If I were in your stead and you were in my condition, I would speak and I would build you up. I would lift you up with my words. And so Job is again going to try to witness to these guys. Listen carefully, and this will be your consolation. So I'm going to console you. I'm going to comfort you with my words. Allow me that I may speak. And after that I have spoken, go ahead, continue mocking if you want to. As for me, is my complaint to man? No, I'm not complaining to you guys. If it were so, why should my spirit be troubled? Why should not my spirit be troubled? Because if I was trusting in man, if I was complaining to man, man couldn't do anything for me. Of course I would be troubled. But mark me. In other words, pay attention, like notice, definitely look on me and have respect or consider this situation. Mark me and be astonished and lay your hand upon your mouth. Even when I remember, I am afraid, and trembling takes hold of my flesh. He's remembering that, of course, he's there in the situation where he's talking with man, but he'd rather talk to God. Remember last time Job was replying, he was saying that God's not even talking to me. He's not listening to me, it seems. But a new paragraph, wherefore do the wicked live? They become old, yea, they are mighty in power. So yeah, the wicked, they get lots of stuff. Not all the wicked go down like you're talking about. So Job is, I think, pointing out the fallacy of what Zophar has said. Zophar makes it seem like the wicked are always treated this way. They always do this. This always happens. But Job is replying like, no, that's not entirely true. Sometimes the wicked do prosper and they continue prospering and they're doing pretty well, it seems, right? So Zophar, be true, be honest with what you're saying. And that's what it sounds like is happening here. The wicked, they live, they become old, and they're mighty in power. Their seed is established in their sight with them. So their children are established in the same power and wealth just like they are. It says here that's true. And their offspring before their eyes. Listen, their grandkids are blessed just the same. Their houses are safe from fear. Neither is the rod of God upon them. Who are we talking about? We're talking about the wicked. So Job is saying, listen, not everything you say is true. Their bull will gender. That means to have birth, right? But there's only 2 times this word is used, gendereth. Let's see how many times it's used in the key number. It is 556 times. They pass over, pass through, pass between, pass not away, pass on. So, okay. So the bull will pass on probably their strength, their life, whatever, and they fail not. The cow will calve, that's to bring forth, and cast not her calf, right? And so the bulls, even animals, are treated well. The wicked will be established, their offspring are established, their houses are established, safe from fear, and the rod of God is not with them. Same thing with animals. They send forth their little ones like a flock, and their children dance. They take the timbrel and the harp, and they rejoice at the sound of the organ. They spend their day in wealth, and in a moment they go down to the grave. It's not like they suffer before they go down to the grave, like I'm suffering. They just go down in a moment. Therefore they say unto God, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of your ways. And the reason why they're saying that is because their ways are good. We don't need you, God. We don't need your strength and your increase. It rains on the just and the unjust exactly. And so God is good to not only those that follow him, but also to the wicked. And we can see that here. They go down in a moment to their grave. They don't suffer. Many times they just die. What is the Almighty that we should serve him, the wicked say? And what profit should we have if we pray unto him? Because we've already got everything. We are rich and increased with goods. Lo, their good is not in their hand. The counsel of the wicked is far from me. So this is what Job is saying. It's like, listen, I'm not like that. I'm not like the wicked. I'm not being like them. New paragraph. How oft is the candle of the wicked put out? And how oft cometh their destruction upon them? God distributes sorrow in his anger. So it's very often that the wicked men go out just like those that are righteous. So Job is saying, listen guys, what you're saying is not entirely true, because there is another way to see it. God distributes sorrows in his anger. Now, this word God is inserted. This is not the one that is a word in the original language. So why they would say God is the one distributing sorrow in his anger, I'm not sure. But that's what it does say. Just so you know, this is a word that's not really intended to be there. That was inserted by the translators. That's why it's italicized. So they are as stubble before the wind, and as the chaff that the storm carries away. Another comment here. Wheat and the tares growing together. Right, good point. So they are like stubble before the wind. They're chaff that the storm carries away. God lays up his iniquity for his children. He rewards. Oh, that's probably why he's saying this. The translators is because later in the context that's what's being said. God lays up his iniquity for his children. He rewards him, and he shall know it. His eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wrath of the Almighty. So that's what all the iniquity is for his children. Now, the question is God laying up the iniquity for his children, like those that are his children are going to reap the iniquity? Or is it the iniquity of his children that are being laid up for those that are not his children? God rewards them, and he shall know it. So like at the end of time, let's see here, there's a comment. So true, the weed grows much better. Yeah, that's true. It's unfortunate. You wish that it wasn't so. But is it here saying that the wickedness that is built up or collected by the enemy is going to be paid by the enemy, but the wickedness that's turned from by the righteous, somebody's got to pay for that. This is kind of like the whole idea of the Day of Atonement. You see, the sinner will take their sins, confess it, and it'll be transferred from them to the sanctuary. The sinner goes away without sin, guiltless. And as long as they're continuing to walk in the Spirit, they don't have that same kind of condemnation that the sinner has. But that sin still in the sanctuary needs to be dealt with. So it's going to be put on the head of the scapegoat, and the scapegoat is going to pay for those sins, right? That's kind of what seems to be alluded to here, although they're not talking about the Day of Atonement. This was, if it's the first book written, this was even before the Day of Atonement was established. There was no such thing. Exodus 25 verse 8 and onward hasn't come yet. And so this is the idea that I see here is they are being laid up, and the iniquity is of his children, not for his children. This word is not in the original language, so I would say the iniquity of his children is put upon the head of him, which is wicked, and it's rewarded him, which would be, of course, the scapegoat. His eyes shall see his destruction, and he shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Almighty. It doesn't say wine, but that's the same thing as it talks about in the book of Revelation 14 with the three angels. And so this is me just kind of putting into it the idea of the Day of Atonement. For what pleasure hath he in his house after him, when the number of his months is cut off in the midst? There is no pleasure, of course, because he's dead, right? So these people don't have the pleasure. They don't live forever. They're dead. They've paid for their sin, and that's it. That's all they got. They don't have any more pleasure in their house anymore. Shall any teach God knowledge? No. Remember, we learn about that with the idea of being God's counselor, where in Isaiah 40 verse 13 and Romans 11:34, you can see that God's Spirit is his mind. Nobody's going to teach him knowledge or be his counselor at all. Nobody's going to teach God knowledge, seeing he judges those that are high, and he judges those that are low, right? So the wicked can be high, the wicked can have lots of power and lots of housing, lots of things, but God is judging them as well. One dies in his full strength, unlike what the Zophar's commentary was, being wholly at ease and quiet. So some of the wicked, they can be at full strength. They can be at ease. They can be quiet. They don't have to be at war. They don't have to be, seemingly troubled, but they die just like everybody does or can. His breasts are full of milk. His bones are moistened with marrow. He's not dying from some kind of disease. And another dies in the bitterness of his soul. So this is somebody else. He is not doing well. He's in the bitterness of his soul. He's not at ease and quiet. And he never eats with pleasure. So in other words, he's dying with the last, displeasures of life rather than the pleasures, as some people die. They shall lie down alike in the dust. So some people die in their glory, some people die in terrible straits. And the worm shall cover them, just like everybody else. Behold, Job says in a new paragraph, I know your thoughts, and the devices which you wrongfully imagine against me. I'm not wicked, and neither do all wicked men die that way. There are some that die that way. There are some that die not that way. So Job is basically looking at Zophar's commentary about all the stuff that he said. All the wicked die like this. They go down, they don't this and that. They don't continue, and they're all full of, terrors and all these things. And Job's like, no, that's not entirely true. So Job calls him out saying, you need to be balanced in what you're saying. And not everything is just one way. There's another way that things happen. Yes, there are those things that you said that is true, but there's also the other that's not true. And so, but the point is, they all go down to the same place. And I think Job is basically calling Zophar out as like, you need balance, man, in your commentary, because what you're saying is not entirely true. And so Job is very logical in his thinking, in his response to Zophar and the others as well, and Bildad and Eliphaz. And so this gives me courage, because even when at the time of our trials, the time of Jacob's trouble before us, we're not going to be without our thinking. We're not going to be mindless. We're still going to be rational, thinking people, like Job is here. We're going to be able to see a situation and be able to look at it and say, well, no, that's not entirely true. This is not correct. Doesn't even fit logic or the natural processes of nature. And so that gives me courage. I like that. Going back here, and to what it says. It says in verse 28, for you said, no, wait, did I read that? I know your thoughts. You're imagining these things wrongfully against me. I'm not a wicked man. For you say, where is the house of the prince? And where are the dwelling places of the wicked? So have you not asked them that go by the way? And do you not know their tokens? Like, haven't you looked around and seen that the prince and the wicked, they both go the same place? That the wicked is reserved to the day of judgment. Now, so this, again, is that final Day of Atonement motif that I was referring to before. They shall be brought forth to the day of wrath. Brought forth, well, in this case, if we look at Revelation chapter 20, they have to be brought forth from the grave after the 1,000 years. At the end of the 1,000 years, they shall live again. So that's kind of like the fulfillment of the Day of Atonement. And it says, who shall declare his ways to his face? And who shall repay him what he hath done? Well, the answer obviously is God. That's the one that's going to repay him. He's the ultimate judge. Yet shall he be brought to the grave, and he shall remain in the tomb. So at the end of the final repayment, or the one that declares his judgment to his face, when in the day of destruction, they are brought to the grave, like in Revelation chapter 20, and they shall remain in the tomb. They're not coming out of there. And that would be the final second death, because the second death, you're not coming out of death. There is no hope of a resurrection in the second death. You're going to remain in the tomb. So it says, the clods of the valley shall be sweet unto him. Every man shall draw after him, and there are innumerable before him. Now, the clods of the valley being sweet, I don't know what that means. I just don't have an understanding. Generally, when something is sweet, you're eating it. So is he face down in the dirt? I don't know. And but they are innumerable. You can see that in Revelation chapter 20 as well. How then comfort ye me in vain, seeing in your answers there remains falsehood? So how are you trying to comfort me when you're not even being true? And this is what I was referring to earlier, is Job is looking at the situation. He's saying, what you're saying is true, but it's not fully balanced. Therefore, not being balanced, it's not true. So he's able to understand what the spirit, the evil spirit, is saying to him, and he's able to respond logically with truth and with balance. So Job is really, really doing well in this whole attack, especially when he has lost everything. All the emotional attacks, all the social attacks, all the personal attacks, all the spiritual attacks against Job, and he still has a right mind. That's really good. I like that. And so Job is becoming an honorable man here. And this is the last verse of what Job's commentary is. He's saying, how do you try to comfort me? You can't. It's in vain, because you're not even being true. You're speaking falsehood. And Job is definitely keeping his cool through all of this. Yes, and that's true. And it's really amazing to me how we can know that God is able, through even this very difficult situation, to keep his people to be thoughtful, understanding, intelligent, able to decipher, to be able to see what is true, what is wrong, what is right, and what is contrary. So I take courage in this. No matter what I am led through, God is going to keep me through it. Amen? So that's something I can hold on to from this couple of chapters. Like, even if it's wrong, God can still help you to see it how it should be. And I want that for myself. I want that for you, so that we can continually have sharp minds and be blessed in all that we say and do in preparation for those final days where it's going to be tough. I don't know how to describe it. Mrs. White says that when you ponder the time of trouble, you might be able to write out a few things and think about it in such a way where, wow, it's going to be terrible, but no pen will be able to portray what kind of experience we are going to go through. So don't feel like talking about it in a negative way isn't imbalanced. I think it is very balanced, except what's imbalanced is I don't know really how to describe it, because I can't tell how bad it really will be. But God can keep us even through those times, so I'm very thankful. Let's pray together, and let's commit ourselves into God's will, so that whatever comes upon us, we'll be able at least to have a clear mind during that time. Amen? Our Father in heaven, I want to thank you that you've given us this opportunity to understand a little bit more what it is that's being said in the book of Job through the eyes of a man who has been the focal point of the entire universe. Like, everybody's watching what Job is going through. And it will be like that for those that are faithful at the end of time as well. We can see that Job's mind was clear. He was able to discern between truth and error. And I want to be given that same kind of mind. I want my mind to be sharp even when I don't have anything on this world. I want my mind. So please, Lord, have mercy. Continue to keep us all. Thank you for this. Lead us, we pray, and help us to be drawn ever closer to you no matter what we go through. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Yeah, just thinking again of this whole picture of Job here and how it relates to us in life, because, you know, this isn't unique to Job. I was thinking back as you were talking to especially to childhood and somewhat in adult life, but especially in childhood, when I was persecuted just because of the fact that I was a preacher's kid. And I think back then, and a lot of the things that people believe were why they treated you that way, and where does that come from? And, you know, really, who's behind these words against Job? Because they're words against God. Are these just the thoughts and the musing of these men's minds, or is it an evil influence that's upon them? We don't often realize that the thoughts in this life, the revelations that an engineer may get in development, these things have a source often. They're not always the contrived thought of the individual, but a thought that's put into their mind that they receive, make it theirs. This, you know, is what temptation is. Temptation is a received thought from powers of darkness, or if we are inspired to do that which is good, its source is often a guiding angel, or the influence of the fellowship we cultivate from that, as you mentioned, church in heaven that's in the book of Hebrews,
Yeah.
You know, that heavenly congregation. And so if we think of it this way, would this not help in dealing with those that strike out against us, in being able to not take it as personally when we can recognize that it's maybe not just his brother's way of thinking, but it's been thoughts that he has allowed to be injected into his thoughts, or the influence of those that are around him? Because much of what we're accused of, and I think that I'll make just this one point and I'll leave it for some discussion maybe, but when I first joined the church, it was right in the middle of the Waco, Texas thing. Like right smack dab in the middle. That very weekend it happened. And I flew out to tell my mother about the things I'd learned and to help her out with some things. She was working on the prayer chain at 100 Huntley Street. She was away for the day working on a job thing. And she called me. She said, "You see what's going on TV here? What this church you've gotten involved with is involved in?" And over the next few days, I got everything from, why would you join a church like that? Isn't that the church that offers babies? Right? I got everything from the accusation of human sacrifice down to, well, that's the church that's doing this thing down in Waco. And none of it was true. But these are all the things that are being placed before. And the last one that topped it off, my youngest sister, she said, "Well, why would you join a church like that?" I said, "Well, what problem do you have?" "Well, those people, they're legalists. They drive cars to church on Sunday. On Sabbath, what's their problem?" And I said to her, "What do you mean drive cars to church?" "Well," she said, "Oh, that's what my pastor said." I said, "Well, think what you're saying through. It doesn't make any sense whatever." But who is really the ultimate power behind this? This is what's been revealed to us here. You know, these men, these are not just these thoughts. This is what Satan has taught them and the gray-haired amongst them for maybe decades or centuries as to what God is like, how he treats men. Right? This is a vindictive God that is presented here, and we have it all around us today. So take that thought next time somebody attacks you, before you get your back up. Stop and think that, hey, they're going through this too. They've received a lie, because that's where those thoughts come from.
Amen. And that's what we gathered from chapter 4, because remember, Eliphaz had been visited by that evil spirit and was sharing the things that he learned about Job. And that's how we're clued in on what you were just talking about, for sure. The stigma of a cult lingering from the mid-1950s. 1957? Walter Martin, yep. Let God be true and every man a liar. Amen. I like that phrase. That's from Romans chapter 3, I believe. And you can see that's the biblical LGBT. Let God be true. I presented that a while back. It's on my YouTube channel if anybody's interested.